What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Sunday episode of Voice of Reason. Today we have a very special episode. We have a very special guest. Mike actually set this up. I'm actually really excited about this one. I feel like we're moving up in the world. Hold on one second. Let me turn my microphone down just a hair. Right? Yeah, exactly. There we go. So I hope everybody's having really good day. So far this weekend has been kind of cool, amazing. I feel like I'm missing out because there's been massive protests in Washington, D.C. There's some going on today as well. As most of you know, I will be going back here next Sunday. I'll be traveling back to Washington, D.C. to stay for the week. And thanks to you, we have raised quite a few bucks for that trip. If you guys are willing to donate, if you guys want to help us with or help promote our work or help support our work, please visit the link tree in the description of this video. I'm going to be doing a live stream every single day from YouTube. I'm going to try and do a live stream also on Facebook and Instagram. It's going to be a lot of work for a week straight. but we want to bring you the unfiltered, unbiased version of what's going on in Washington, D.C. because obviously the media does not care anymore. So it's pretty much up to all of us to report exactly what's going on. Last time I was on live in Washington, D.C., somebody got arrested right in front of me. So again, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. Again, also, I have planned, now this one could get me arrested, this idea of mine, on my birthday, which is the 17th. I plan on doing a live stream episode on YouTube here, right in front of the Heritage Foundation. So if you guys have any questions about what the Heritage Foundation does or what they're up to, or the fact that they are basically writing all of Donald Trump's policies and executive orders, big, beautiful bill, all of that.
If you want, I could describe what they do using only 4-letter words.
Oh yeah, easily. So I'm gonna have a lot of fun with it. Now that I know the logistics of the place, it's gonna be a lot easier. It's a lot easier for me to work things out in my head on what I want to do. So I have a few ideas that I want to try and pull off. Plus, again, you never know what could happen. There are pop-up protests all the time, so you never know what could happen. I'm hoping to just put out just an insane amount of content. While praying at the same time that the battery in my phone doesn't explode. Man, I'm telling you what, I've had the 2-3 streams now that I've had my phone overheat that they've completely just shut down. So, but anyway, I'm really excited about that. Again, if you guys are willing to support us, we greatly appreciate it. Plus, Mike and I will be live together again in New York, in New York City on October 18th for the second No Kings protest, which will be a nationwide mass protest. Okay, that's the last one, the last No Kings protest. Over 10 million people hit the streets. We hit our 3.5% from what I understood. So we just need to duplicate it, or I don't know, double it, triple it. Maybe then we'll get our point across, because it doesn't seem like the White House is listening to a whole lot of what we're saying.
They're not going to listen to anything, but
right. But today is not about
other people to know that people are listening. But you're right.
Right. So today we're talking about, because we've been talking about like a lot of the next generation of politicians and what we would like to see. Mike and I have explored topics like democratic socialism, trying to explain that it's not the horror show. Not saying that the person coming on is that, but we're just trying to give you guys like different options and different, maybe some more modern, right, a younger perspective. The old capitalist, rich people get everything way of doing things is obviously not working. So we have to do something different. And I still don't understand why poor people support capitalists. I don't get it. Why are you rooting for people that are quite literally taking money out of your pocket or preventing you from making more money at the same time? So today we have a young up-and-coming politician from California running for State Senate District 4 named Jaron Brandon. So this is actually, like I said, we're moving up in the world. Let me bring him on stage here. Jaron, how are you doing? Thank you for coming on the show.
That's a lot of pressure you're putting on me.
No, not at all. But no, thank you for what I understand. But you reached out to us, if I'm not right. I was actually like, oh, that's cool. That made me feel kind of special. I appreciate that. We're not used to people saying, hey, we recognize you from social media, or stuff like that. So we're still humble as possible, you know what I mean? So, but thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, and I hope that we can. Let me turn my mic down. Mike said my mic is screaming loud. Hopefully that's a little bit better. How are you? How are things out in California?
I'm doing pretty good. We're dealing with an emergency here. I told you guys I'm a county supervisor, so if your audience is kind of out east, it might be commissioner in your area.
Yeah.
I'm in my second term on the board of supervisors here, and
Nice.
we had a fire that happened here. So we're dealing a lot with immediate response and recovery efforts in Chinese camp. Lightning complex fire. If you Google it, it's tragic. With California and the West Coast, that's just reality.
Yeah, that on the East Coast, I think it was 2 summers ago, we had the sky was disgusting because of the wildfires up in Canada.
Oh,
we on the East Coast don't have like any concept of what that's like. It's almost like
I remember that in Pennsylvania, the air got so bad that you couldn't leave the house.
Yeah,
like I was door dashing and it was summer, so I had my windows down. It was hot, and I had to go home. My eyes were burning, and my throat was on fire. But yeah. So I understand your struggle out in California because obviously we have incompetent idiots running the show here. Donald Trump claimed to have solved the wildfire problem last time by sending people in to turn on a faucet. And then because we think that Donald Trump, because he sees a map on the wall that's facing north to south, that he automatically just thinks that the water runs downwards. So, what do you have to do? What kind of support is there now that Donald Trump and Doge has cut basically all kinds of funding from FEMA and these aid programs, especially to blue states?
And I'm surprised it wasn't mobilizing the National Guard to do a bucket brigade. I mean, it's such a fundamental misunderstanding of what's actually happening in California, with nothing trying to get the locals to be involved, to go, step up and say, hey, here's what we're working on. Here's where we actually need help from the federal government. It was exactly that. Let's look at a map and let's just direct, hey, you know what it is? Fire, water puts that out. We just need to go release a bunch of water, with no thought to, well, maybe it's a little more complicated than that. That's why it's been getting worse over time, right?
It's funny. There's a show that I watched. It doesn't matter. It's on Netflix, where it's from Australia, and it just every half an hour episode is like a different group of people that get asked questions. One of them was people fighting fires in Australia, where I learned one of the most important and successful tactics of fighting fires is to set fires so you pre-burn areas. And what you need the federal government to do in that way is to look at things from a logistics point of view. Everyone thinks FEMA's job is to just throw money at a problem. It's supposed to create a grand logistics network that helps figure out the best way to manage a course of action. And without that, you're left to local government trying to wrangle itself instead of having them do the work and passing off some of that logistics. And I think that's what people misunderstand is the job of the federal government. As a candidate, you're running for state senate. So I don't know how much you bring in the national conversation, but how much do people know the difference between what's expected of a national government versus a local government?
I think most people are expecting the same. They want somebody who's reasonable. They're a leader. They're explaining what's happening, and they're doing, votes that are in the interest of regular folks. So, I mean, whether it's the state or federal government, we could dive into like the different roles of that. Ultimately, what we need is somebody, I mean, whether I'm a congressman or a senator or a supervisor, it's still trying to show the same leadership, explanation, same coordination. I might not have the resources or the vote onto the thing, and yet we're still kind of all on the same team. And so with, to your audience, to kind of summarize like what we're dealing with here, I'm in a county that is 78% federal owned and managed land.
Whoa.
That isn't so much out east, right?
No.
So when we talk about this rake the forests thing, we talk about this California management of its forests, most of it's somewhat nonsense, right? We're talking about federally owned, managed forests.
Yep.
There are things the federal government can do. A lot of it is on the state side with California, but with the federal lands, it's very squarely in the federal lands management. And so that's one of the key things. The second is we have catastrophic fires because we're actually really good at putting out fires, right? A lot of people think it's, well, you need to get better at
Putting water on it.
Them. Yeah, exactly. We criminalized tribal burning that had happened for thousands of years. They literally, as late as the 70s, were arresting Native Americans, calling them arsonists.
Even though they knew how to do that for thousands of years. They've been doing that.
That's crazy.
And it's a fire-adapted ecosystem, right? It's kind of like you can have rain and then you can have flooding, right?
Yeah,
Fire is like rain. We need fire in this ecosystem. We took it out for so long that now these fires get to be so severe, it's hard to kind of deal with.
It's overgrowth situation, right? And then there's too much of it, and there's not enough separation. And then one tree goes ablaze, you have thousands of miles of trees touching each other.
Yeah. And we Jesus. I keep thinking about the things Trump says when there's a wildfire. I'm sorry. I keep going, like you said about raking, and Donald Trump, I know in his feeble mind, quite literally, and I apologize about the volume. There was an update to my microphone app, and it switched it to my camera. So I hope this sounds a lot better.
It does. You're good now.
Thank you.
It was very authoritative.
Yeah, I was like scared. I was like,
am I allowed?
Whatever you say.
You guys kept saying it so loud. I'm like, I don't get it. Okay, all right. Problem solved. Tech issue solved on the fly, guys.
Always
all right,
a tech
we're good
issue.
to go.
Always.
But no, just like you said about raking, I picture in his feeble mind, he honestly sees like firemen out there with rakes, like you would use in your front yard, just out there, just And then he says stuff like, "Oh, the ground is just not wet enough." So then I bet he's picturing firemen just walking around spraying water on the forest ground. Like, this is the solutions these guys think.
It's a complicated situation.
Right. It's not, but
it's got nuances to it. Yeah.
A lot of.
We could use more forest management. We need industry to handle some of that. You have to have good fire response. You also have to make sure the whole point of this is to protect the natural resource. So you're not doing so in a way that damages it.
Yep.
You want everybody to stop suing each other. And we actually have a really good model of that here. If you can believe it, to put it really reductively, the spotted owl folks and the lumberjack folks sit at the same table, apply for grants jointly, and they bring in tens of millions of dollars for these projects because they show that we can work together. The ultimate goal is you can't have industry if everything gets sued, and you also can't protect those species if you don't have the partnerships to do the fuel reduction. And they're working together, so why can't we see that more in Sacramento or with DC?
I find it fascinating that so many people think that nothing needs to happen to make government work, or that to get any of the benefits you expect, it's not that complicated.
Right.
Everything in life is complicated. Why wouldn't government be complicated? And the more you simplify government in a way that's just hack and slash, you're not actually doing anything but creating more chaos. You need those complexities. You need those overlaps. For example, shouldn't like the park services be working with FEMA to work with local state governments because they have the most knowledge of the terrain? Like, it's not that complicated in a obviousness sense, right? It's like, yeah, you want to do that. The logistics of it are complicated, but why wouldn't you want all these services to work together and coordinate? You can't just say the states that live that exist in a broader conglomeration of states are on their own. You need to be able to expect help from the government. Otherwise, there's no point for the government, which for a whole other topic for another show is really what their main point of all this is. But we actually have a question from someone who is one of our favorite humans on the planet, Addison Mayer. She is 12 years old, the most accomplished activist that you will ever meet, is definitely going to be the president one day if we have a country.
For sure. Definitely.
So she's following you on social media now. She wants to know, how can we help with your campaign, and will you have phone banking?
Oh, that's awesome. Addison, first off, I got my start before anything else watching NewsHour with my dad pretty much every evening. So you're on the right track to being a state senator one day. So my website is votejaron.com. It's got a little bit about me. I was trying to post a link in the chat, but I think it thought I was spam. I may or may not be spam, depending on if you like me or not. But it's got a donation link. It's got a volunteer and contribution form, all of that, and a little bit about my background. And more important than, I think, just having, I can tell you the issues I care about the most. I've actually got on there the issues I have prioritized. And so not only in this race am I the youngest candidate, I'm probably the most experienced candidate because I've worked on and had results in homelessness. The potholes are better in my district than they were when I started. We've streamlined housing policy. We've worked on biomass and forestry efforts. And so I encourage everybody, go check that out. When did we stop wanting people to be in leadership positions that actually knew how to get stuff done, what the line staff that you're directing do, and start picking people based on we like that guy's meme. You know,
Yeah.
Right.
Are
Thank
you saying
Thank
that there are people who are experts in fields and we should probably listen to them?
No, I think you should hire the boss's son. He's the most experienced person.
Right.
I think you should definitely pick managers based on whether you like their smile or not.
Nepotism and fashion sense all around.
God.
Yeah, and if you have 10,000 followers, you should get whatever job you want.
You know what?
Of course.
I'm getting close to that on Instagram. So is Jeremy. So I agree with that. But no, I want to do a little bit
Secretary of Forestry.
I want to do a little bit of journey about some things here. Some history of, is it Tulum? I'm pronouncing it right, correct? Tulum County?
Oh man! All right, Jeremy, what's your guess?
I wasn't even gonna try. I saw it here on Mike's outline. I'm like, okay,
it's like Tuwala you, Tuwala me,
Tuwalum,
Tuwala me.
Tuwalami. Oh, Tuwalami.
Okay. All right.
It's got a few silent letters in there.
That's all right. It's English. There's no rules. So, all right. So first I want to pull up this little quote of yours, and I have a question about the GSD attitude.
Yeah.
Worthy goals take great teams and support. I love that. I saw those teams didn't have the resources or leadership they needed. I've only done my part to prioritize our most difficult challenges, support those on the front lines of solving them, and get out there myself to show anyone can make a difference. This is exactly the GSD attitude I will bring to Sacramento for us. So what is the GSD attitude?
It's get shit done.
Yeah.
Sorry, wait. My campaign team says it's get stuff done.
Yes, stuff.
Well,
okay.
Of course.
Get stuff done.
Of course.
Stuff.
I mean, ultimately, why do we have a political system that elects people based on a popular vote who are not experts, right? And even if they're an expert in one thing, they're not experts in everything.
Correct.
It's kind of a cockamamie sounding system, right? If you pitch that to somebody who had never seen it, you know, I think they'd kind of be like, are you sure you want a guy that's just the most popular to be running all of the government? You know, right. I think, though, when we go to like what ultimately is that role is prioritization. We're there to go take public resources and not to be the experts always to go solve them. That experience is good because I got to communicate with people who are experts. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you want somebody who says, this is where we need to put these resources. These are the areas that are lower priority. You want somebody that is holding it accountable. So professionally, I get to be the professional version of you. Not that you're not professional, but I go to all the meetings, that you don't have time for. Yeah. I go ask the questions that say, hey, why does it work that way? Can we do it faster? Does it have to be that expensive? Is this the right thing right now?
That's amazing. It's funny. You listen to what they say, right? That's kind of like communication. It's amazing.
And that's how you get shit done. I am not there to go just tout myself up. My job is to get the resources to the experts who know how to do it, but also not to just take it at their word, to ask the right questions and make sure that there's accountability. But it is not there to go make it all about me. The bully pulpit is not about the person in office. It's about the people they represent, the problems that they're working on. So if you're not bringing home any policy, if you're not making any impact, if you're not bringing home resources, what the hell are you doing?
I think
you have described exactly how I see government way more succinctly than I can, because I've always looked at it this way, and I know the founders looked at it this way. Mm-hmm. Everyone's going to have, like you said, a field that they are the most proficient in, expert or not, something that they focus on. Bringing a wealth of experience of different fields to a government is great. But if each of those voices is trying to be the one that's in charge, not only can you never have someone that's an expert in everything, but that's going to skew their opinion on what is the most important priority. To your point, you need a manager. Okay, you need someone who can take all the people's opinions, their expertise, and the funds and the timelines and the population's needs and all of that, and prioritize those. Yeah. That's what leadership is. That's what the people running for government office should be.
Well, that's the thing I liked about, because everybody complained about Joe Biden, and I kept saying, like, he has some of the most qualified people surrounding him. Giving him the information. That's the most important thing. Like, Donald Trump has hired complete idiots that are not qualified for these positions.
Look at what we're talking about. We're talking about the difference between people who agree that the leadership role is a management role versus I'm brilliant, I'm perfect, I'm everything, I'm your superhero. I could do it all with the wave of a pen. Vote for me.
Right.
That's not how government works.
And
At
if you've
local
been in,
level or not.
if you've been in elected office for a while, I mean, I've run a few campaigns. I've worked on a bunch of campaigns to Addison. I mean, I got started doing voter reg. A guy asked me, "Hey, here's a clipboard. You want to help me out?" I mean, that's really where this all kind of came from. It is very easy to feed somebody a line. Hey, Mike, I agree with everything you agree. I love those. And I also hate everything that you hate. I mean, I just have to regurgitate. Right. You will tell me something and I regurgitate exactly that back to you. The fact is we don't press people on the things that let us trust over, which is, okay, but do you understand what you're talking about? Do you understand the opposition, what they're talking about? Can you navigate that? And can you actually be able to deliver any policy on that? Do you understand how this big issue, whatever it is, let's say forest management, applies locally to the area you actually represent? And we just stop looking at that. And all of this is in the context of what is a country and a people, right? We're looking at the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, our system of laws, our federalist system, right? And seeing, okay, so not only are we prioritizing it to what I see is the most important issue based on the feedback I've got from 900,000 people, and not only am I holding those folks accountable to make sure it is done effectively and efficiently, but we're keeping that on course and in the guardrails of who we are as a values of our country, our rights, things that we protect, we hold dear. Even if it's inefficient, there are things we do because it's right, and that's what America is. And right what America is, what the state Constitution is, what the local general plan is, that all aligns back to that central identity of here's who we are and holding accountable to it. A behavioral health expert or a road worker, what do they say? If you're a hammer, every problem's a nail. You have to respect that expertise. Sometimes you need a hammer. Where my job is to ask, are we using the right tool for it?
Maybe we don't need a hammer. Maybe we need two hammers.
Scalpel.
But you have to think, you have to ask those questions, and it can't be based on assumption. I love the idea that we're taking this in a almost philosophical, what is government and what is it lead? So what I want to do is, my next question to you is how you feel about running in the district you're running and giving its political history. So I'm going to do a little bit of just covering that.
Yeah.
California Senate District 4 is the largest in the state, hugging the Nevada border from Lake Tahoe in the north, Death Valley in the south, and jutting as far west as Del Puerto Canyon in Stanislaus. Oh, I screwed that one up.
Stanislaus.
Stanislaus. That's a good word. Home to 25,000 registered voters, District 4 is a conservative stronghold, in fourth among California's 40 Senate districts for most registered Republicans. Ptolemy County, I did it, right?
It was close. I'm gonna count it.
All right. Where conservatives outnumber liberals by about 2-1, ranks 9th among California's 58 counties for most registered Republicans. Still, you won the 2020 general election with 59.4% of the vote and decided matters early when you drew 57.5% of the vote in 2024 primary. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive. You know, we talked earlier about where you are, just so people have an idea geographically. We're talking old school California establishment. 1850, township was founded based on gold and timber, railroad, and Chinese immigration. Lately, though, conservative electoral trends, though part of the heavily Democratic state of California, I'm not going to do it, this county is more politically conservative. In the 2024 presidential election, Trump gained ground in several California counties, including some that had previously voted for Democrats. While this county is already generally conservative, the trend reflects the political leanings of the region. How do you feel about this? You know, are you going in knowing that you feel you're fighting an uphill battle, or do you think there's a hunger and maybe a not obvious understanding of people wanting change, but did they reflect this in their voting that they want something different?
Yeah, I feel great about it.
See, I think this.
I love it. That's great.
Honestly, I think the way you're approaching it is going to be more appealing because independents are the largest demographic of voter. And let's be honest, a lot of people just got conned into, like, people that don't follow politics like we do, don't like if you go out, like we always say, we sound like crazy people sometimes saying some of the stuff that's really happening right now in America.
Well, Jeremy, you're hitting on something so important, which is, I mean, I had folks, and I'm not saying, because I'm very clearly, I'm horrified by what the Trump administration is doing for
Oh my
whatever
God.
kernel of truth where there was an issue. Hey, we should improve our forest management stuff. It gets taken and abused into something that is weaponized and is ineffective and is that kind of hack and slash version of it. But I get why people who are only listening to the news and who are only reading a Facebook post and who are into this very carefully crafted bubble that is created by psychologists and, you know, cog sci folks, and they're trying to keep you mad so you vote and so you donate. And you've got the best minds in business, right? And the Democrats, I mean, this is something that exists on both sides. There's an advantage to what's happening. He is using the tools that are destroying democracy right now, but other ones are benefiting from those too. There are a lot of people that voted for the guy who loved his country and loves veterans, right? Who is going to go manage our forests, who is going to go drain the swamp because we have a political system, right? You know, go because he's coming from the outside. And in that same election that Trump picked up counties, I also defeated a 2-term Republican incumbent by 20%. And there were people that voted for Trump, not in substantial amounts, and voted for me. Because I think a lot of those folks were looking for somebody that talked not like a normal politician, somebody that actually dove into the issues. I was such a nerd. I had a binder with, like, you know, you know, here's the roundabout projects happening. Here's a housing policy.
You got to have a binder.
Yeah, and it was a different approach, but people it was refreshing to them. I think right now between 2016, 2020, and what's happening, there are a lot of people with buyer's remorse. They are seeing.
There is.
Yep, they voted for a drain the swamp guy, and I get that. If we acknowledge it is a broken system, it's understandable why somebody would look for the boldest, you know, Occam's what is it? What's that knot? Gordian knot solution, right? But they're saying, well, wait, but you're filling it full of people who are unqualified, people who are insiders in their own way. They're getting rid of the independent experts. You support veterans, but you're cutting the VA health support for suicide. You want to do forest management, but you've ended the seasonal workers. You're abusing the Forest Service staff. Even the reorganizing is being lost in the chaos. What the hell did we vote for?
Yeah.
And
So
I
think people are seeing this?
For me.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, so people are seeing, like, you're seeing people's reactions are exactly what we imagine they would be. The find out phase is in full effect.
I think a lot of people are going to quietly move. They're not going to be loud when they leave. The cult. They're going to slowly just
embarrassment is a strong motivator for quiet.
And we have to believe it's possible. I mean, use my election as an example. There is no mathematical way for me to have won with what I did without substantial Republican support. And you're right, most of that was probably people who, I don't know if they held their nose doing it or whatnot, but it was a quiet vote.
They did it though.
You know, we're going to give this guy a chance. And then on that record, they voted to reelect me by stronger margins in the primary election. We've got a weird thing. So basically, I won it outright early because the votes were there.
I feel like that means Gen Z is going to, I'm sorry, because Mike and I, before it slips out of my head, I feel like Gen Z is going to has the most buyer, the first-time voters. They got conned because they were
they got Joe Rogan.
Targeted. They were targeted. They got Joe Rogan. Exactly.
And there's a political shift happening. I mean, people want somebody that sounds like a human being. I mean, I've been in political office full-time working on this for 5 years. I try to sound professional and like I know what I'm talking about.
Whatever that means.
Right, but not sound like I'm not talking down at people. I'm trying to make it always accessible at every point. If you're an expert on forest stuff, let's go talk about good neighbor authorities. Let's go talk about, you know, biomass utilization. If you're just wondering how does this work, let's talk about what a backfire is, or when you take a lot of the stuff off the forest, you got to do something with it, or, you know, you can't do stuff when everybody's fighting. You got to get them to work together first. I mean, and the issue is I don't blame voters for not understanding that full system because government is just too complicated. People have their families, their jobs. They are better doing things they care about in their life. But they deserve to have leaders that can make a complicated thing simple without misleading them on the actual kind of truth behind it. And so do I get scared by a 6% difference of registration in this district. It's 38% Republican. It's 32% Democrat. It's 30% independent. It's an independent area. You started 1850. We were a republic before that.
Yep.
As an independent nation, we were a portion of Mexico before that.
Yep.
As that, and before that, for thousands of years, indigenous folks.
Yep.
We were an isolated area that took care of each other. If we can do it locally, we can do it at a larger level. 6% means this: I have to change 3% of people's minds. That is the most fourth most challenging district in the state.
Wow.
I have to believe in my ability that 3% of people are reasonable who wouldn't have voted for me, but if I talk to them, they'll change their mind.
Okay.
How did you just phrase that to convince me it might be reasonable to get MAGA people to vote for their interests? How did you do that?
It would be nice to see them do that once, guys. Like MAGA, we would love to see you actually vote for people that give a shit about you.
Like, I am a
that would be
grumpy
slow.
old bastard, and like you just made me think there might be some hope. But like what Jeremy said, we've said Gen Z is the coin flip we need to solidify. But our job is to hold this off for Gen Alpha. Addison is a prime example, but I've met a lot of kids from Gen Alpha. I was told the other day that it is actually cool now to be smart and nice to people. That is not how I grew up. That is not how I grew up. Yeah, it is cool now, apparently, to be smart and to be nice to people. That is so foreign from me growing up.
We live in a culture that rewards the prom king and queen, the jock. You know what I mean? We've never been a society that rewards the nerds until now. Until now, the nerds are coming up. We are coming up, man.
We might make it to a type 2 civilization after all.
There we go. Right. Like, what's my background into it? I mean, like, I grew up in a park. I was first in my family to go to college. My mom sang in saloons and bars and trains. My dad's a small business guy, so I sold guitars, cables, amplifiers, independent music store. All to say is I grew up pretty poor. I had parents that loved me and cared, and I'm appreciative of that. I was able to go to college, become the first of my family there. I cut my teeth again on student organizing. I came back. I was 25. A lot of Gen Z folks are kind of hitting that same thing, and it's like, this is such a big problem. Everything is collapsing. What do I possibly do? My life has been defined politically by seeing 9/11, seeing Great Recession, seeing political scandals, sex scandals, every institution failing us. And millennials kind of, are grumpy probably because
we are grumpy. We are very grumpy.
I'm a Gen Xer, so I'm always pissed off.
But looking at that is like, okay, so what do? Well, you just start. You do one thing and you do it locally, and you don't focus on trying to fix the war in Ukraine or try to fix the deficit or go in your community and go get dog pickup bags for poop. Go raise some money for your school. Or go, support, go into education, be a teacher. If you do one thing like that and you accomplish it, then you build the skills, you go and do it. So mine was voter reg. Then I was in student government and internships. Then later I ran for supervisor. Now I'm running for Senate. That wasn't because I had the right last name. I'm not a billionaire. It wasn't because I had the big party come down and say, hey, we're going to give you $1 million to do it. I didn't ask for permission, but I did ask consistently for responsibility, and that grew. And by the time the opportunity came up, I was ready to do it and be not only a competitive, but a winning kind of candidate. And I've seen with Republicans, and I don't know if you watch this, they're picking up progressive stuff. Have you seen?
Oh, yeah.
Look at Maha, right? What's the big enemy, Red 40? That is a yuppie liberal.
That is the whitest, hippiest cause I've ever heard.
Yeah, they're going to go after DuPont chemicals. They're going to go after food additives and colorings and stuff. I mean, and they're talking about what was the big, beautiful bill thing. I mean, it had horrible stuff in terms of the corporate tax rate and for the ultra wealthy and the cuts. But what did they sell it on? No tax on tips, right? They are taking progressive ideas because fundamentally, most people, most of the time on most issues agree, which is we're in a corrupt kind of broken system. We want people that inspire trust. My wallet is hurting. And so economically, I want something that helps me. And I think I'm being lied to by all of these institutions holding power, including big pharma and corporations. And I'm not, people ask where I'm at. I'm a progressive blue dog, maybe. I mean, I'm really a contradiction. Right, because I'm a rural person that's fighting for people's potholes and basic rights to having housing.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
I live in a city of 35,000 in the middle of Pennsylvania, so I get
Jaron, you just
Yeah.
brought up something.
our
that
countryside
kinda-
is probably very similar.
Yeah, and there's a
said-
term in like a lot of discussions about code switching. That's the
Oh,
problem.
yeah.
That is where we get hung up on. Take not
Yep.
the race side of that, but an economic
I know
or
what you
political
mean, yeah.
code switching, right? People are complaining, Republicans, MAGA, about their health insurance costs spiking.
It's like party code switching.
Yeah.
Exactly. So how do you talk to these folks on a way that is, again, accessible on things that they do support? They want the roads fixed. Everybody does. Everybody wants housing. Everybody wants cheaper health insurance. Our
is
messaging
this-
is where we failed.
This seems like it's we've gotten so accustomed to things running that we forgot what it takes to make them run.
Mhm.
And then on top of that, we got so strangled by, and I'm doing this specifically, a two-party system that
Mhm.
became so diametrically opposed that the idea of compromise is poison now. Someone brought this up. I thought this was a good question. Do you think that you should have more than a two-party system like here in the UK? We have a five-party system. I think what we're seeing is, you know, the two parties themselves probably don't think that. But I think the people know that it's more complicated. We're back to this complexity issue. It's more complicated than two parties because there are things we agree with. And I think this goes to the heart of what you were saying. There are fundamental things that all Americans agree with, right?
Mhm.
If you take away the color of the party and you say, should everyone be able to afford food? And just ask that simple question. Let them think whoever's asking it, they could whatever they want. But the question
Right.
is,
If you
should
just remove
everyone
politics
have
out of it.
food? Yes. Should everyone have their roads fixed? Yes. Should the trains run on time? And I'm throwing in a little Mussolini joke there. But my point is everyone agrees on very certain fundamental aspects of society.
Right.
What we don't agree on is the branding that we're told we should believe in that will lead us to those things.
I think Mike and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mike.
Yeah,
I think
no,
you
go
and me
ahead.
both realize that there is a difference between Democrats and actual progressive Democrats. Because we have a lot of very corporate centrist Democrats. And I respect anybody who's ever lived in a state of poverty or homelessness. I was damn near homeless once myself. You get a new perspective on things when you don't have anything. You know what I'm saying? So I don't. I've always wanted, because I think our society, we've been taught to think that people with money have all the answers. Like,
We are taught
because
that.
they're rich.
That's what we're
Even if it was like Donald Trump, even if it was handed to him by daddy, a literal fortune of $400 million.
He has it, so he's
right,
brilliant.
and he's gone bankrupt however many times, but he's still rich. So
Well, he's only gone
everybody
bankrupt
thinks
because
he's a
he's really
good
smart.
businessman.
Ah,
It's
yes.
like
Right.
They're strategic bankruptcies.
They're really
Right.
strategic bankruptcies.
money and wealth does not equal. Definitely doesn't make you the smart person. I mean, Elon Musk is a perfect example of that. It doesn't make you a good person. Obviously, I think Peter Thiel is a good example of that. You know what I mean? We need to stop
You could
looking
be
at people
smart
with
and
money
shitty.
for all the answers because they've not lived a normal American life. They don't know what it's like to not have money to buy food. They don't know what it's like to not know where your rent's coming from and it's due in 3 days.
Well, maybe we
They've
needed
never
this-
lived it.
Maybe we needed this find out phase. Like, as much as I hate to say it, one of my best friends, before I'll say Trump won, meaning number one, not one, but before the first Trump term, he was like, look, I don't think we're headed past this. I think we're going to get a Trump, and maybe we have to. And maybe we got to hit rock bottom for people to realize what's
This is
actually
bad.
important.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, 10 years later, it's worse than he could have ever imagined. It's worse than I could have ever imagined. But
Yeah.
it is starting to look like, and you're a good proof of this with those election results, that people are starting to, maybe they're not willing to give up their affiliation yet, but they're willing to vote for their best interests for the first time, maybe ever in this country.
Yeah,
We've
remember,
just
you vote
taken for
private.
granted people vote straight down the party. I mean, to the viewers' kind of point, two political parties, do you vote elephant or do you vote donkey is probably not the most sophisticated system.
Red or blue. Pick
but
one.
it's
This
so
is not
much more-
Halo, guys. Sorry, go on.
It's so much more complicated, and we got to understand. So, like, in some areas, it's a privilege if you're in a blue area to say, hey, blue all the time, I'm never going to consider Republicans, and vice versa. But we're asking that of the other side. We're saying, hey, what's happening with your side's wrong. Will you consider not re-registering, but changing your vote for a presidential candidate or congressional candidate because of what's happening, because of something that is greater, right? I think that's just something we have to keep in mind. So say we have 5 political parties, right? It's like a courtroom, right? You got a defense attorney and a prosecutor, all kinds of issues of whether that's fair or not. But if we had 5 attorneys representing 5 parties, would that be a better system? It would have more perspectives probably there, right?
It might not
but
be
it
a
would
better
also be
system.
weird and inefficient in some ways.
Clunky.
Right. And so what are the problems with the 2-party system we have that aren't the 2-party system? Citizens United, corporations being able to donate unlimited money.
I was getting ready to say that.
Sorry for jumping in.
No, so
I
you're
was
right.
quite
Messaging-
literally
And
getting ready to say that.
transparency on those donations, and also the system that even as a candidate myself, the amount of time I have to spend fundraising versus just going out to be able to talk to communities, that incumbents have such an advantage that districts aren't drawn, by the way, in a fair way. And please vote yes. I mean, Prop 50 is something that has to happen to eliminate gerrymandering at the federal level in a permanent way. It's all to say, I mean, there's caucuses. There are philosophies of difference. Democrats, if anything, what was that Guthrie quote or something? It was, are you part of any organized political party? He says, no, sir, I'm a Democrat.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
All right, so like, there is only one belief there. You can run, you can win, and there are a bunch of different entities there, which in some ways resemble a little more like a parliamentary thing. It's just you gotta get past the rhetoric to figure out who is who in what camp.
I mean, realistically, we do have more than a 2-party system. There are other parties. It's just
true.
They don't ever gain any traction. You know what I mean? But just to your point, though, I looked it up, and this is why I was going to talk about the Citizens United thing, because according to Google, I know the right hates Google too. Initial reports that the 2020 election was exceptionally costly, with estimates reaching close to $16 billion with a B dollars on overall federal races.
That's absurd. And you know what the worst part?
That's
like
crazy.
98% of that came from like 4 people.
Yeah. And Mike, let's say you want to.
I know that. No, don't.
Oh, go ahead.
You're feeling generous. You want to write me $1,000 check today. You know, Jeremy founded $1 billion, dating app. You know, for pets.
Nice.
You know,
like
and you're
That
a
would be
unicorn
awesome.
billionaire,
and
you want to make a donation, and you donate $1,000. Fundamentally, it's not an issue that you're a billionaire in that and you're looking at your interest, but if you're both on a level playing field, you're participating in the same way. And we do have campaign contribution limits in California. But let's look at this. Say that I am somebody really skeptical of AI systems in those, pet dating apps, right? We really have to watch that stuff. You know, and Jeremy says, well, I don't like that. I'm going to donate $1,000 to this guy's opponent. Mike's still going to donate $1,000 to me, except we have these things called independent expenditures. So now Jeremy can say, but I'm actually going to put $3 million into an uncoordinated smear campaign against this candidate. And Jeremy can do that. Well, Mike, do you have $3 million? You can go do one saying how I'm just a great guy. That is one of the really corrupt things within our system that people see. And of course, people then lose faith in a lot of that.
Because that's really what PACs are for.
Imbalance wealth brings.
Yeah, because
Right.
PACs
So
aren't
that's
supposed
the point
to.
of wealth.
Yeah.
The party problem is parties are just an accumulation of people in committees that then adopt a platform, and that platform changes over time, right? I mean, it is a product of people. Focus on the things that are a lot more changeable. Get money as much as we can out of politics. Run and support candidates. If you've got strong opinions and you've never worked on a campaign, what are you doing? Because less than 0.1% of people meaningfully engage, and who actually gets elected, probably, right? And so we have a lot of things that feel like activism on social media, but how much are we actually doing to raise money, run people, go out, register voters, change elections, go recruit candidates, do stuff like that? That is where we need to focus.
You know what? I just saw this from Zoran Mandani. I don't know if you guys saw this video. I really like that guy. He is telling people to stop donating. I have never
I don't know if that's
ever heard a candidate say, look, you guys did enough. Thank you. But don't send me more money. Keep your money. Like, what?
No.
It blew my
The thing
mind.
about
I was like,
the funny part about that is that works in his scenario because of the uniqueness of this New York campaign.
right.
Let me
But
tell
he already
you,
met
it
his
is a
goal.
weird
Like
one.
he met his goal. He's not being
That's
greedy.
the story.
And he's like, look, we're good.
But,
Thank you. We're good. Stop.
I mean, I want to get a little philosophical for a second because I think we can't ignore literally the elephant in the room. Given the political climate, given what we're seeing being done to our government, seeing how maybe the era of free and fair elections to some people's metrics are behind us, do you see a future in this country where representative democracy can give the people what it wants? Or are we now stuck in this Coke versus Pepsi, don't pretend RC Cola doesn't exist,
Yeah,
but we're
culture
still all
war.
going to poison you to death? Like, is there a way forward for representative democracy in America?
I think two things on it. One, there are some bells you can't unring. We've had a lot of things. I mean, like the full faith and credit clause of the United States. We've never defaulted on our debt. If you default once, you can't just come back from that.
You can't go back from that.
We've had generally, most of the time, peaceful transitions of power. We've had growing, balance of powers in the courts and right. But all to say is there are some structures that I think if they are walked over, I don't know that the power accumulated there will not continue, and that won't end in something really bad. If now is not really bad, I mean really bad. The second bit is we have an elastic band effect in the United States. It goes one direction, it pulls the other. It's frustrating as hell when you're trying to get something done. But also when it goes bad, it kind of goes the other way. There's a benefit to that in a two-party thing, is it always is trying to check and counter.
There's a physics to it that applies.
If we don't cross those lines, we resist, we fight back, we push back. What we have to see will not be institutional. It will be making it taboo. Yeah. We have to make extremism taboo again. We have to take people who give
like
only,
racism.
Yeah. And that's not us. That's not me running. That is everyday people who are saying these folks sound like they're feeding me a line. They didn't have any answers, or this person is shouting online at people, and they might get a lot of trolls and likes and all this, but we want somebody who can actually talk, who can actually get stuff done. When it becomes taboo, I think we can see people come back together. Right now, people are like, I think there are some willing to hold their nose and vote for the other side, and that will be that kind of tip of the spear. I hope we will get back to a point where, we can see people voting across party. Mikey, I think you were bringing it up about, and both the rich getting what they want, regular people not getting what they want. That chart that says if you have a policy that's more popular, it should have a higher chance of getting approved, right? And that any bill introduced has, on average, regardless of whether it's popular or not, about a 30% chance. But if you are in that wealthiest group, it matches about exactly. If it's more popular, it kind of passes. There are reasons why people don't want to vote across, because it's so corrupt feeling, and there's such a lack of trust that they don't trust the solutions. And the person that I'm running against, again, I'm putting it out, it's not a party issue, but it is sort of. She ran as a Democrat. She switched. She saw Trump and MAGA and one big beautiful bill and said, I'm all on board with that. I'm going to switch parties. And more important than switch parties, I'm going to switch all my votes and my values. I'm going to be 100% over there now, and toe the line. She spent more time, I feel like, in D.C. than she has in my county, going
That's
and writing.
a chronic issue.
And are we going to make that type of behavior taboo? I really could care less if she switches parties in it. But the switching, where you're switching your votes and your values and what you actually are standing for,
right?
If you don't stand for anything, then in office, you just blow the biggest donor.
You just said something so interesting. What people don't understand is you can belong to a political party A and vote for things that political party B wants, or at least in theory you can. In practice, let's just say, especially for one side or the other, if you do that, you are excommunicated, you are ridiculed, you are primaried into oblivion, while the other side, switching party lines, maybe there's a grumble, but then everyone just gets over it and still goes, we're blue, yay. Because I mean, we see that all the time with bills when you have Republicans going to a Democratic bill and Democrats going to a Republican bill. There's always more Democrats that are willing to sign on to a Republican cause than the other way around. but it's who you vote for, like you said, and what you vote for. Have you always been pro women's choice? And then suddenly you're going to vote against that? No,
Right.
that's not acceptable.
Yeah, it's like John Fetterman in my state. Drives me absolutely nuts. Here, let me show you guys this, because you're talking about we need to make hate in this country taboo, or white nationalism, or whatever we want to call it. Nazis.
Hate, hypocrisy, extremism.
Right. Whatever. Yeah, right.
Stupidity.
Religious extremism. I agree.
Right.
So let me pull this up for you guys. I just, because you reminded me here, but this is, if I can pull up the right thing here. If you guys can see this, back in 2019, Democrats in the House actually introduced something. I can't remember if it was a resolution. Anyway, they introduced this, rejecting white nationalism and white supremacy. This is not just about white supremacy, because this also is about anti-Semitism, because obviously white supremacists follow, the old mustache guy and are not big fans. So, but just to give you an idea, this is introduced by Democrats. Now, here's what Republicans did back in 2023. They introduced a bill to denounce the horrors of socialism. That's what it's called. This is what Republicans hate. Anything that doesn't make them money, they seem to hate, is what drives me insane. They will compromise on every issue if it's profitable for them.
Yep.
And we have gotten to, like I think you said it maybe earlier, like we need to get back to a government that is elected to serve the people. We have a government right now that we elected that thinks that we serve them.
Yeah.
But I mean, look at what's happening with our National Guard. They're using them like puppets, just in this
not
weird
on the
reality
DMV,
TV show.
I think the DMV does actually a pretty good job out here, Department of Motor Vehicles and all that.
Ours is actually pretty good.
Great. But their approval rating being probably 5 or 6 times higher than what Congress is a bad sign.
That's terrible.
A popularly elected body, right?
Like everyone hates the DMV, and for the most part, most DMVs now run pretty well, but everyone still hates the DMV. So if you're like,
speaking of it, I have to go to it.
If your approval rating is above.
You assholes remind
me. Make an
me.
appointment. You can make appointments out here at least.
Yes,
Can you? Exactly. My DMV's never busy, but they're just so mean.
Well, look at the small town near you and go to their DMV. Yeah,
let's face it. If you worked at a DMV for 5 minutes with the amount of ridiculous humans that they have to deal with, you would be a mean son of a bitch.
Oh, I would. I was in sales for almost 2 decades. Yeah, you get.
But like from the 2 you were just showing there, here's what I pull out of it, and I'm not talking about the language into each of them. People care more about votes like that, where it is really a statement of philosophy and belief, and it's not to say there's not a role for that, but that is like most of the attention. What about federal transportation funds? What about SNAP programming? It's very unusual right now that we're even having any discussion about food assistance, right? What more of a basic thing of a charitable society, of one that takes care of its people, is ensuring that moms and kids and young people, hungry people in our country are fed. And how often does everybody say, we don't want to do that until everybody is fed here? And yet those are the things we don't pay attention to. In Sacramento, it's sometimes not so different, where we end up with these kind of big, it's a partisan bill or something that gets a lot of focus, but not a lot of focus on the details of, well, how is that implemented to a San Francisco versus a Tuolumne County, 55,000 people? Alpine County has 1,200 people in my district, right? How that's not going to work the same. Or are we doing this in a fair way? Are we fixing the potholes and maybe we're not? And that's why people are also worried about zero emission vehicles, is the grid goes down all the time. That's a totally reasonable thing. And we don't address those things. So we end up with, I think, sometimes understandable skepticism. Rather than a resolution, meat and potato issues, we need to fix things and show people the government does work.
I love that. I mean, one thing that I could think too, I mean, we are coming up on closing the show. I think the most important thing that you have said today was how you've always wanted to ask for responsibility. The idea that a public servant's job is supposed to be getting elected and then schmooze and then go around and just tell the constituents what they want to hear. That's not what I vote for. I want the people I vote for to want the responsibility of governing. I want them to feel an urge inside of them to go, you know what? I rather be the one to do this,
Right.
because if I can do it, I know I can do it right. And I think we are now in the middle of an era of politics where we're so desperate for something to fix something that we're still just willing to listen to the snake oil salesman. And we have to break free of that. Part of that is educating the population. Part of that is toning down rhetoric and putting laws in place to prevent propaganda and other stuff, fairness doctrine. But I think the most important thing a politician can say to the people who they're asking votes of is, give me the responsibility to govern you. Right. I want that. That is my responsibility. And I think that's brilliant. I couldn't have, I was taken aback a little bit when you actually said those words.
Yeah, we have politicians right now that are telling us to work harder and pull us up by our bootstraps, but then they're taking the bootstraps. You know what I mean? They're telling us to work harder, but then
they're taking the bootstraps, but they outlawed Velcro.
Right. And say, I want you to like me. I would love you to like me. Like you said, I want to be a kind person and a regular person, but like, I don't need you to like me. In elected office, it shouldn't be about who we just like the most, right?
Nope.
I want people to respect me, because we're going to find things that we disagree. There was a joke out there. It was like, I want you to agree with me 80% of the time. If it's 100% of the time, see a psychiatrist, right?
True. That's good.
I want you to understand that when we disagree, I've thought through something. I'm doing it with a rationality to it. There's maybe multiple solutions, but I'm being serious. This isn't for some ulterior motive. It's not so I get rich. It's not because I got a buddy crony. This is something that we just disagree on, and that's okay. Because as long as I would rather us see that we are prioritizing solutions that aren't as good, but doing them well, than taking the ideal solution and doing it super poorly. And getting past these labels, which are kind of nonsense in my opinion, because what's the small party or small government party anymore, right? You know, and there's criticisms of the Democratic Party and that too. Is like, are either party, as much as we like the parties of the working class and labor and all of this, right? So these labels suck. Look at the individual. What I'm asking Republicans to do is to go give me your hardest questions. If you want to go find one we're going to disagree on, that's on you. You're going to find that. But if you care about roads and housing and forest management, I mean, something that you hold above top tier, your safety, your family's safety, your community's existence, ask me that question. Give me a chance to do it, because I'm going to ask you to do the same when we're talking about what's happening federally within the state or whatever. We want to see open minds, but we have to present that first. I think Republicans should vote for me, and I think Democrats should. And if you want to support candidates, when good candidates come up, they do need your help. If you don't want them to take corporate money and be as much, beholden to all of that, make sure that you are, even if it's $1 or $5 or $10, we annoy the hell out of everybody. But the more that we get individual support, the more we're able to do that. And the second bit is, if good people don't step up, there will always be leaders in these positions. Yeah. So if you're thinking about stepping up, you got somebody in there that sucks and nobody is doing it, who are you waiting for?
I think it's the thing. People don't think they're qualified to be a politician, but really, what do you need to know? You need to have a basic sense of how the government works and just be a decent human being, and you can accomplish great things, man.
And want the responsibility.
Right. We have to stop looking at the people, with the money and going, oh, he has shiny stuff, I'm going to follow that. We got to start listening to the average everyday Americans. It's like with this Epstein stuff, like the Trump supporters, the hardcore cultists, they're calling them paid actors. Like,
right.
It's because they're willing, they're so deformed in their thinking that they're willing to believe sensationalism because they're really being governed by a tabloid. Mm-hmm. And it's a successful attempt to make them vote against their interests. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing that the entire Midwest lost all of its small towns and farms so that there's a Walmart big box store in every town that everyone works at. It's because if you don't care about the people and fixing their problems, it's very easy for you to promise them everything. Yeah, but just like you're saying, Jaron, you can't fix everything. You can't promise everything. You have to talk to people on a level that is real, that they understand, and where expectations can be achieved.
And if you want to achieve something, set achievable goals. 30% of people on either side are not going to in any way change their mind. There's 40% there in the middle. So if you're spending your time all day and it's arguing with a troll on Facebook or a bot account or somebody who is just that deep in the Kool-Aid, you're wasting your time. It's a totally self-gratifying, if it's gratifying effort. It accomplishes nothing. There are real people who are your neighbors next door, who are maybe the elderly conservative couple that remember Reagan being generally respectful to people. You don't have to agree with Reagan to say that they might be horrified with the meanness of politics. They might be a business person or a small government person who's horrified. Why don't you go talk to those people? Because they might actually listen. You also might learn why they believe what they've got. They're not all kind of out in the woods. We define it by like the loudest, craziest voices that we see. We throw all that and then we get burned out. So
I agree.
Focus on what you can do. That's achievable.
I think that's a good way to head out around here, because like we're not going to say anything better than that. And we
no, I agree.
I think we really lucked out today. You were really fun to talk to. I would love to have you back on. I certainly am interested in how your campaign goes.
Yeah, for sure. We'd love to.
Pamela said it, and I think it's accurate. I think California 4th District is lucky to have you running. I think America needs to take a cold, hard look at what it expects its politicians to sound like. And if they sound like you, maybe we could start fixing some of these problems.
Right. Start electing people that have had problems that you've had in life. Yeah. I mean, not all of the problems, obviously, because I don't want anybody to have all the problems I've ever had in life. But you know what I mean? Some of it just relatable.
Just expect real people. If they're not presenting a real person, then you should not be surprised when you end up getting a clone.
Right, but at the same time, I think you're going to do good as far as explaining to people, like, if something can't be done, why it can't be done. And I think that's something the Democrats lack, is basic communication skills with everyday people.
I agree.
I do feel like a lot of the Democrats talk down to people. I do feel like that. But I think there's now, like you and Mamdani, and I forget the other guy's name, damn it, the guy with the big old mustache. Looks like a firefighter. You guys probably know what I'm talking about. Like, we have this whole new generation. I gotta Google this. How am I gonna find out who this guy is?
Take a bite out of a 2x4.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. But this is what we need in this country. We definitely need a new perspective. What is
Gen Z?
It's not working. Capitalism in its current form is not working. There could be a form of capital. I mean, we already have this. Here's the problem with America. We have capitalism and we have socialism, but now we have a government that has poisoned minds to think that all capital or all socialism is bad, only capitalism. But they don't understand that means cutting vital programs like SNAP, Medicaid,
because they don't have anyone explaining it to them.
Because they're not arguing balance. They're not arguing generally about that actual word. That word is a meme that means something totally different than reality.
Yes. True.
And so don't argue about democratic socialism or capitalism or socialist. We have programs. We're also an economy that uses money. Talk about
I like it.
Talk about childcare for employees and workers.
Yes. Oh God.
Talk about trying to get more farmers markets up and running. Talk about investments. Who cares and I'm not an ideologue. Talk about the pragmatic side. Who cares all if the roads get fixed? Let's get the roads fixed. And there's a lot of people in that. I don't want to hear that that's a socialist program or it's a capitalist thing. I want you to put money into the roads.
Do you agree the roads should be fixed?
Right.
Yes or no?
I like that. Break it down to the basic problem and take all the labels. Oh my God. I wrote about this a long time ago.
We call it pothole issues for a reason. Nobody is voting for me. They're like, I think he's more of a, he's not a Luddite. I think he's more of kind of a Nietzsche. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, they're not breaking it down. They're not breaking it down into economic policies. The ones that do, that is often just trying to label something so they can oppose it and other them. What they're really voting on, if they're open-minded, is I have a plan to streamline housing policy, or I'm going to vote on an affordable housing project or a rent control thing. We're going to fix potholes. We're going to talk about the fire engines that were 20 cents. We were the worst hit in California per capita in the opioid crisis. We had 850 prescriptions per 1,000 people within my district. Think about that. 850 per 1,000. That's not an incorrect statement.
That's crazy numbers.
Who cares whether that is the government or the private or whatever? It could be a nonprofit. There's multiple solutions to it, but we care that one of them works, right?
Which one works the best? I agree.
Or just
I agree.
do it. Fix it.
Which one
Who
works the
cares?
best? Just fix it.
We
Okay,
need private
I'm digging
treatment
it. I'm
centers if you
digging
can
it.
afford it. We need nonprofit ones supported with the community. We need health
everything.
programs coming in that are through realignment and government funds. We need enforcement there on the dealers and the people producing this that are making all the money off of it.
Yeah.
We also need to support people not getting into it because they have a place to live. I mean, all of that fits. It's an all of the above solution. You can say nonprofits your focus, not government. All of it wherever it fits and makes sense.
So
I like it.
I want to have a little fun right before we end, because there's something that I saw that I was going to have to harp on.
Oh no.
The steel-toed Democrat.
Yeah.
I love that. What's the origin of the term? And then I have a couple of other images that we might go through that if you want to use them. But if you want to explain that term.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we wanted something that kind of talked about who I am as a person. So I wear boots every day. They're not cowboy boots. I'm not a cowboy. I grew up in a ranching area, but also like a hiking forestry area. So I wear steel toes because I'm not going to change shoes in the middle of the day. I go to the office for a committee meeting and have some calls on the road. And then I go check out somebody's septic system at their house that they're trying to get permitted under there. And then I'll go hike onto a project to go look at an illegal dumping thing. Point being is I'm not trying to promise to be a fancy, high-end, suit-wearing, I want to be competent and I want to be very real. And to me, steel-toed boots, you don't find those in office buildings and that. You find it in rural communities. My district is rural, and I'm proud of my district. I'm proudly rural. I'm proud of where I'm from, and I'm proud of where I'm going to represent. Even if we have problems, I didn't just get born here. I chose to come back and to live here, and make it my home. And so that's what it stands for. Hard work.
I love it.
Out.
I think we need more steel-toe boots in office buildings. So here's a couple of ones, and I obviously have a joke at the end of this one. I'm only promoting these pictures because sometimes AI is funny to me.
I own that pair actually. Yeah, that one right there.
See, when I typed in steel-toed Democrat, this is what it came up with. And
those are my line dancing boots.
The only reason I'm showing these is because if I didn't tell you I typed in steel-toed Democrat, you would think I typed in MAGA Republican boots. But it's kind of funny how AI just typed in steel-toed Democrat. First of all, I think these are awesome. And it actually came up with some ones that look at these. Look at these. Come on.
Oh my goodness.
That's
now
great.
I even have a pair for Donald Trump.
with the lift, I like it.
Sorry.
Or
Okay,
was it Marco Rubio?
Oh, Rubio had the.
Yeah.
Wait.
Those are some good heels on there.
No, it was DeSantis.
DeSantis had.
Yeah, it was Ron DeSantis had the heels in his shoes.
Anyway, that's where I figured we end with a laugh. But
I thank you. I'm happy you didn't find the bathtub photos. You had me worried there for a while.
We'll save those for a later episode.
Well, it depends if you win or lose. Then we'll.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you so much for coming on
those photos.
When is your election coming up?
So the Prop 50 election in California is in November of this year.
Yep.
My primary election is in June of next year. Okay. And then November of 26 is when we have the whole shebang with the top 2 vote getters.
Nice. So, okay, cool. That sounds really good, man. If I lived in your district, man, I'll tell you what, I'd vote for you for sure.
Yeah,
I definitely would. I think it's just refreshing to get a new perspective from a younger generation of politicians.
Yep.
And I think a lot of us maybe that have no business being in politics maybe need to start running for some kind of local office. I'm starting to be convinced of that because if Trump and his morons, his merry band of misfits, are able to run the country, then I think some of us are overqualified to do what they.
100% agree.
Everybody has 100 reasons why it doesn't make sense because it's irrational. You're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it for others. But what's the worst that's going to happen? You run and you lose and you learn and have a cool experience.
And then you go back to work.
Or people say some mean things about you, like, toughen up. This is our democracy. Yep. Like, the worst that happens is you have an experience.
Exactly. So thank you so much for coming on. Mike, thank you so much for setting this up. This was a fantastic episode. We'd love to have you on again anytime you want to come on.
Definitely.
I will be next week. We're probably not going to have any. Well, Mike and I are going to do one. I'll be on location. I'm going back to DC on the 14th.
He's
For
been
the
hooking up with
sit-in.
the veterans right now, occupying DC.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the video with like Jolly Good Ginger and all that stuff out
They're
there.
doing a lot of good work.
Yeah,
a
down
lot
in
of good
DC.
work.
So we're doing on the ground
I
stuff.
see
so.
that they're escorting him out of the halls, decorated military.
Yep.
heroes.
Yeah. Did you see that,
Oh, yeah.
Jeremy?
Yeah.
People in full
Yeah.
uniform, and they're
That was
dragging them out of there.
No, the one
Makes you feel
guy
a little
was
national
actually
pride, right?
Yeah,
the one
lot
guy
of
was
them.
actually a contractor. I
Both
think the one you're talking about, was it about Gaza?
It's amazing how much more national pride I have the more they try and destroy our country.
I feel
know,
the same
right?
way.
I feel the
All
same
these
way too.
nuanced things have suddenly become a lot more clear, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree.
Let's end on that.
Yeah,
That
I
was
agree.
it.
Thank you so much for coming on. I hope you have a good rest of your day. I hope everybody has a good rest of your day. Again, don't forget, like I said, I am going to DC on the 14th. Still a little bit short of our fundraising goal. So if you guys are willing and able to, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Again, I'm going to be there for a week. I am going to be doing a live stream on YouTube every single day, to include one in front of the Heritage Foundation's main office, which will
That
just
should go
pray
well.
I might need bail money. Let's just
I'll bail you out. I
because
got
they
you
don't
covered.
like coverage. They don't like it being exposed. They want
I
to
got you covered if you're
hide the back. All right, cool. So
Somehow.
thank you guys again. If you want to donate, the link tree information is in the description of this video. Don't forget, if you want to support Jaron, you go to votejaron.com, JRON.com, and find the information for that there. Other than that, have a good rest of your day, everybody. We love you, and thank you guys for all the support. Honestly, this year has been magical for us as a podcast. We've been able to do a lot of things that we always talked about doing, but we're actually doing it, so it's nice. So I love it. I'm sorry, I'm babbling. Have a good rest of your day. Love all of you, and we'll talk to you soon.